Welcome to part 2 here for my little review series for the 7 speeds. We're kind of looking at stable to overstable 7 speeds. Today, I'm going to compare them to the OG, the original. You can't really beat it, the Teebird. Where it all started, so many people have tried to make a copy of it, clone it almost directly. It's such a great fairway. It's kind of the classic standard of straight to stable fairways. Granted, here at altitude, these are a little bit more stable than probably most of you at lowlanders. Honestly, like I said, this is just a disc that pretty much every company has tried to make a version of. A disc that should be pretty much in every player's bag. Even if you're low arm speed, these can be your distance drivers. And as your arm speed increases, they don't really need to leave the bag because of how controlled they are. They don't move off a whole lot, off the line a lot. They finish really nicely, and you can get quite a bit of distance for several different types of arm speeds. So I've got last year's Tour Series Vinyl Makala, the Halo Champion, and then I've also got a classic. There's an F2 Star Teebird, and we're gonna take a look at it, how it compares to some of its closest rivals. Speaking of rivals, what a lead in. We got the Legacy rival, which is Steve Rico created Legacy. He ended up mirroring and copying a lot of the Innova molds. Legacy isn't well known throughout a lot of parts of the country. It's very popular around that area in California. They make really solid discs with really good plastic. This is in the Pinnacle plastic, and it has almost the exact same shape. It is so hard to tell the difference. Even it has the nose bead, it has everything. And then also, this is the Explorer from Latitude, but it also almost exactly the same shape, has the nose bead, feels almost exactly the same in the hand. I mean, putting them up next to each other, the nose maybe just a touch less blunt, but very, very similar. And then Discmania has the FD1, which also has the nose bead. Very similar shape, super solid fairway. We'll test that out. And then recently, this last year, Macbeth finally released the Athena, which I thought was supposed to be the Teebird clone, but it probably has the most unique shape of these. It's not quite the same as a Teebird. It's a little bit faster of a wing. The nose is a little bit thinner, and it doesn't really have the nose bead, maybe a micro bead, but honestly, the Athena feels a little bit more like the Eagle. And I'll have stay tuned for my next review. I have more coming. I've got like the Eagle. We're gonna run the Eagle up against some more competitors in this class. But today we're kind of doing who makes the best Teebird. But from what I've thrown, it still throws very similar to a Teebird. So let's get out here. We're at Lou Miller in Longmont, Colorado, and we'll kind of give these a huck and see how they do. We'll kind of keep the same track as I did in the iDog versus all the other one reviews, and we'll try to keep this same track for all of these discs. I like to kind of keep these whole series on the same holes as close as I can, so you can kind of really look back through the whole series and see how they compare to each other. All right, so I like to start out here. This is hole 5 of Lou Miller. Just 285, straight ahead. Nice, kind of simple throw. I like to just kind of throw them as flat as I can, about 80% power, so 75, 80% at the pine tree, and let them just kind of slow fade into the basket. This is a really solid distance for what most people should throw with this. Like a lot of beginners and AMs, where this is kind of getting and capping out at your distance, these are going to be such a good controlled driver for this type of shot. I normally can throw a mid here, sometimes even a putter, but I definitely like being able to take something like this and just throw it as smooth as possible and get really good results. So we'll start out here with the Teebird. We'll start out with the Star. This is a factory second, but it is just a nice solid Star Teebird, a little bit of dye on it. Throw it right at the pine tree. Little wide, but enough hyzer on it, and it's really, really solid. Just doesn't really flip up, doesn't really fade, move a whole lot, and then just a very, very soft fade. Now here's the Vinyl Team Series. This is Halo Champion, which most Halo Champion stuff I've tried has been really, really overstable. Not the case with this guy. I threw it a little bit when I first got it. It is pretty straight, honestly, kind of surprised me. But it is pretty solid and consistent. I think he kept this as his Tour Series. I don't know what plastic he chose this year, but I'm gonna try get this one a little bit flatter. Oh yeah, little wide, but right at the tree. Nice soft fade. I'm in a little wide, but just still, like I said, doesn't turn much. That one feels pretty straight. And then we'll go with the Explorer. And this is, I'm not sure what plastic is, but I think Isaac is throwing this a lot. Like I said, pros tend to throw these, especially at lower altitudes, as a very, very straight disc. Whereas here they are slightly overstable. This is, I think, Glimmer Opto. So it should be decently stable. The Glimmer Opto stuff is usually on the more stable side. So it should be a great comparison to these Teebirds. Ooh, a little wide as well. Super straight. Oh, dang. I pulled it a little bit and I've gotten a little extra power. I've been working out and working on the form, and I'm starting to get a lot of extra power even on low amounts. That was solid. I pulled it a little bit. It kind of slid under the tree. Didn't quite fade as much as either of those other ones, but it was probably the flattest angle with the most power. All right, here's the Legacy Rival. All right, there we go. A little more right line at the tree, a little low. Oh, we kind of hit the lip of the grass. That's still not bad. That was not that great of a throw. A little low. And then we're going to go with the FD1. Nice. Right at the tree. Right in front of it. A little deep. Man, I'm throwing, it's amazing, just a little bit of working out and working on your form. Kind of, my 80% feels a little faster than normal. I might have to slow down even a little bit more. But here's the Athena, which has the different hand feel. But the FD1s are solid. The C-line ones are pretty overstable. But here's the Athena, feels like a little faster. But I have thrown this a tiny bit, and it does feel pretty stable, overstable even. There we go. And it's got a hyzer. Oh, and that's really good. See, that was even a little wide too. I did tower down on it just a touch so that it wouldn't, I wouldn't push it too straight. I don't know if I can blame that Explorer. I might have just juiced it a little bit. It could be straighter, we'll see. But we'll see when we get them under a little more power and we start getting some forehands. These were all pretty solid. Man, I went way long with the FD1. The first Teebird shot was solid. I would like these to be a little closer. This Rival got an unfortunate skip off of the corner of the grass, but this Athena and Teebird, very solid. Oops. The Vino Teebird just got just inside the tree. Nicely done. And don't put with fairways. FD1 I kind of juiced too, but I think the FD1 is among the more stable of these. Escape, unfortunately, went under the tree. It was like basket high. Yeah, they all felt pretty solid. These all should fly fairly similar. Some of them are gonna be slightly more stable. Some of them will be a little bit straighter. But even the straight ones are gonna have a really solid flight, I think, for most people. All right, this is hole one. We're out here, this is, I think it's 342, just kind of straight ahead. Kind of similarly, I like to just kind of try and get this in the gap between this middle light post and the right pine over there, down where those people are. And if I hit it hard enough, like it should get there, but yet they should just kind of go straight with a nice little solid fade at the end. Even under power, these 7-speeds shouldn't move a whole lot. Like, I'm gonna try to get them pretty flat under this power. And here it is, the Halo Champ Teebird. That's really solid. Just that kind of slow fade. Oh man, wow, what a skip. I mean, it's very cold and dry, dead grass right now. So that skip is a little harsh for, when normally these don't flare all that much. But that time that acted very, very stable. So I don't know, that's kind of odd. But here is the Star Teebird. Ooh, there we go. Very solid. Look at that. So you can get a lot of power, and that had a subtle touch of hyzer on it out of my hand, and it just sort of held it. And still got up there, didn't really flip up. All right, here is the Explorer. Oh yeah, if it doesn't hit the pole, ooh. That's really, really nice. Oh yeah, that's, I almost hit the pole, but yeah, you see how it kind of straightens up a little bit, but just doesn't really move. Has a nice soft finish to it. All right, here is the Legacy Rival. Very, very, very similar. That's so solid. Okay, that I think is parked. That looks like it's under the cage. I can't quite tell, but that was really nice. It does feel maybe a touch straighter than the Teebirds. It's hard to say. Like I said, I reviewed these, I filmed this already once before and lost some of the footage. And it did feel a little straighter. Here's the FD1. The FD1s are usually these C-line ones on the more stable side. Try to give this a good flat bid here. Oh yeah. Whew. Yeah, so you can see it get to hyzer and hyzer a little harder than the other ones, but still really solid. I think this Athena is very, very similar to that FD1. Just a very different hand feel for these Athenas. A little low on the Athena again. Oh man, I'm hoverboarding that Athena like crazy, but that's still really good. I need to get that theta up in the air. It's a little thinner in the hand, and I do struggle with Z and stuff in cold. All right, let's see how these did. These are all really solid, and that's why this disc is so good for this type of range. Like you can see, I can pump them, and I'm probably not gonna go super long. They're not gonna drift over. The Rival's parked. All right, these ones all just kind of held the hyzer to little different levels of skip. We've got the two Teebirds here in like edge of circle, FD1 and Athena, very, very similar. And then the Rival and the Escape, just really, really good. Now the Rival and the Escape might be a touch straighter. Again, I'm not a robot, so sometimes it's just my throw and the nose angle, obviously. But just from what I'm feeling so far, they do feel like just a touch straighter, whereas these other ones feel like they have a pretty solid fade to them. But we're gonna give them a good forehand test here and see how they handle a little bit of torque. Because if you don't know, my forehand is pretty torquey. All right, this is hole 2 here. 295 up on the hill, and we got to go over the water, over the geese, try to get up the hill. I can't really get there with forehand, but it's a pretty good test for the forehand. I can kind of, I don't like the chance turning it over, so most of the time I kind of, by default, hyzer this a little bit. So we'll just kind of see how they handle as much power as I can give them. My forehand felt really good yesterday, so we'll see if I can't get a pretty good option on these. Here's the Star Teebird. See how they handle forehand here. Oh boy, I torqued it a little bit. All right, it's still fought out, and that's not bad. It's, okay, I torqued that really, really bad. So, but it didn't turn over. Like, it's solid. It's not like a super beefy, like a Firebird or anything, but it did handle some torque. So we'll see. This is we'll see if I can get this shampoo one a little bit more cleaner here. See if I can figure out what I was doing yesterday where I was getting such good release here. There we go. A little bit of torque on that too. Fighting back. And that's just pin high, just a little wide left. Not bad. All right. Now here's where the Athenas come in, where Discraft comes in kind of nice, is now I can use this tooling to get myself a little extra grip, which sometimes gives a good advantage of these on forehand here. Oh boy, I torqued that one as well, but it fought back and pushed really far. Okay, man, I am really not hyzering these. Woo. I'm getting pretty good power. I need to clean up the release angle a little bit. Here's the rival. Oh, and then I overcorrected and scooped it. Oh, dang. I got pretty far up there though. Yep, I overcorrected a little bit for that rival. All right, here is the escape. That's solid. Little flip up, good solid push, pin high left. Not getting quite as much right return as I want. That escape, I got pretty clean and it flipped up a little bit. Not quite as torquey as the release as those original ones. So I think it definitely is just a touch straighter. Here's this FD1. Oh, I scooped the FD1. Dang it. Yep, it's pretty stable. I scooped it. All right, we got a couple more forehand holes that we'll try it out on. I scooped a couple of those, but nice to see those other ones still recover. In part one of this, I threw like the Bottoms and the Evader and stuff. They are the Exodus. Those had a really hard time recovering from that wobble. In fact, as hard as I threw a couple of those, I think those Bottoms probably burn over into the water. Maybe even the Exodus as well, because they have a little turn to them, so they're not nearly as torque resistant as some of these other molds that are like really kind of more 0.2s. So I scooped these. Legacy, the rival, did get a little further than the FD1. I do think it's a little straighter. The FD1 is pretty stable. I've definitely got a little bit of power. I mean, I got all the way here with most of these, and had I aimed a little bit to compensate for that little bit of flutter and angle, I probably could have gotten in circle. Athena got really far. So that Explorer got deep and it got the furthest right, which is impressive, but it was also probably my best release. It was maybe slight hyzer to where it actually allowed the disc to flip up and push and then recover. Whereas the other ones were kind of flat to anhyzer, and the wobble kind of, it takes them a bit to fight out, and so they can't get back right very much. But okay, so here we are at hole 3, another 340, but this one you got to kind of bend it a little bit. And since I showed that they don't really move a whole lot, I do kind of want to see how they hold a little bit of angle. And since I can't really push that hard with my forehand, and I think my wobble will destroy these on any type of flex, I think this is a good for these to where we got to stay away from the tree on the right, but to get to the pin, we've kind of got to push a little bit into that space to the right and then hook up at the end is the best way to reach the pin on this with a clear putt. So I like to try to give these just start them almost straight at the basket, but give them a very, very subtle flex angle. And so they'll drift a tiny bit, but they should recover is the plan here. Yeah. Oh, it's coming out pretty early, but it's gonna get underneath the trees. That's not bad. All right, I didn't quite get full power on that. I got the angle out of my hand, but all right, here is the rival. What is going on with my angle here? There we go. There's the rival. Just perfect. Just slow drift and then slow come out of it. All right, here's the FD1. Yep. Look at that kind of just come out of that angle late. Oh, I just cut the branch. Otherwise, that was absolutely parked. That was just a touch high. So just kind of a tiny bit early, but kind of the exact flight we want. All right, here is the Athena. Oh yeah, that is the exact flight I released. I missed the line by just a touch. So it was a touch inside. Like if that was just a little bit outside, I get around the right side of the tree, but we got around the inside, so that's not bad. Don't hate it. Yeah, and this is really where I think these discs come in really nicely because you can shape lines and put a little bit of angle on them without like getting extreme movement. So a little bit different than getting stuff that flips up and kind of rolls over. These just kind of hold for a minute and then slow pan out. Two really good type of shot shapes that you want as you advance. All right, here is the Explorer. Let's see if we can get a little bit, continue to get that kind of nice, very subtle angle. Yeah, just holds it, just comes out. All right, I pulled it to the right a little bit, but that's exact flight. If that was more straight at the basket, that angle and height was perfect. It would have been just right by the basket. That was a little right. And that was mostly my body alignment. I think that was like my walk up not hitting the right body angle. But here is the Vinyl Teebird. Oh, look at that. See, just holds that line so subtly. That was a touch early, but it held that line perfect, but that's exactly the shot I'm trying to do. So shot shape and everything, and like, it just kind of just slow drifts, slowly pans out of that angle and has a kind of soft fade finish. Dude, these discs are so fun when you start kind of being able to shape shots. Like I said, it depends on what kind of movement you want. Like a lot of times I'll throw this with something a little faster and a little more overstable, so I can really pull on that line a little harder and get a much stronger finish. So kind of like how I pulled that Explorer, but with like a Thunderbird type disc, it'll actually kind of come out of that a lot quicker and get a little bit stronger of a fade and kind of give me a look most of the time. But you can still do it with these discs, right? And we've got 3 inside the circle. Here's the original Teebird right flight, just a little underpowered. But the rest of them, we got the Athena, we got the other Teebird. The rival is absolutely parked. FD1 was a little short, just underpowered it just a little bit. Or no, it hit the tree, it hit the branch. Would have been absolutely parked if I'd just been like a foot or two wider. And then the Explorer is slightly deep. And like I said, I pulled that. It's still kind of edge of circle putt. And so even though I pulled that, it didn't leave me all that bad because these don't just move all that much. You know, you saw the kind of subtler movement of the Teebird here. So pretty solid. These all handle it pretty well. And like I said, if you hit the angle right, they just kind of do exactly what you want them to do. Okay, now we got this hole 4 here at Lou Miller. This is in the 280 spot. You can see what they're putting on right now, right there. Something that I couldn't reach for a long time with a forehand, but now I can finally get there with a forehand. So we'll try to get these. And the best line is kind of low left. There's a branch that's invisible right there that you can't almost see, that's closer than the far tree. But we kind of got to get under that and get a nice flare out to the left. So we'll try to get a nice low flat flight with these and see if we can't put a few of them real close, see how they handle forehand. I'm gonna try to get these a lot smoother than that last one. I think that was one of the things I was doing yesterday, was I wasn't trying so hard, not trying to muscle them, and I was throwing really, really solid forehands. So, all right, we'll go with the Star Teebird. This Star one seems to be pretty stable, but I'm just gonna try to hit it low, flat, and smooth. Yeah, there we go, look at that. Nice flare. Oh yeah, that's what I was doing yesterday. Okay, that first forehand was a bit of a mess, but these should be pretty good. I think I just figured out what I was doing. All right, we'll try that Explorer. I was trying to do the slow steps like Eagle does too, to kind of, oh, look at that hoverboard. I hope you can see that. Oh my gosh. That was like 2 inches off the ground. And I don't know if you'll be able to tell from the camera, but it annied just very slightly and then hovered and then got back to flat and then got the awesome finish. That was sick. Okay. Here's the FD1. I'm actually able to throw forehands flat now. This is really nice. Oh, there's the FD1. Very solid. That FD1's pretty beefy. Got left a little faster than the Teebirds. It might be just a tick more stable. Here's the Vino Teebird. Oh, I got a little hyzer on that one. All right, but still kind of not bad. Okay, that was just a touch of hyzer. Didn't quite get that one flat, but not bad. All right, here's the rival. Oh yeah. Right in front of the tree. Oh, I hit the tree. All right. So I got a little bit of a straighter skip. I don't know if that's the disc fault or just unlucky, but that was gonna be perfect. Skipped in front of the tree, which normally you get that nice flare to the basket. All right, here's the Athena. Oh gosh, a little early inside, but that was solid. That Athena is pretty stable. That was not a very good example. That is, my forehand has gotten so much better in just a couple weeks. Now, honestly, the one cue that helped me was, shout out Bonanza, was keeping my shoulder down, my front shoulder, and then just kind of mimicking like Eagle's very smooth walk up and throw, not trying to over torque it, and really finishing through kind of the Ulibarri slap the booty. All right, so yeah, this Athena was a little inside and weak, but very solid. Vino Teebird also similarly a little hyzered, but a little bit better power. And we're right there in C1, or edge of C1. And then the rest of these almost the same. The rival and the escape, I think the rival, if it doesn't clip the tree, is almost identically in the same spot as the escape. And I think these are just a touch straighter. Like the FD1 and Teebird and Athena are just maybe just a touch more stable. They want to get on the hyzer just a little bit quicker. So yeah. So honestly, who makes the best Teebird? Well, that's hard to say because the Teebird, Innova just makes it. It's great. But there are a lot of clones. Some of them really close and really stability-wise and feel-wise. Some of them maybe a touch straighter. So if you want something that'll push a little straighter, kind of check out the Rival. Seems to be a really good option. And the Explorer. And then for, like you said, these lat players that are kind of looking for what Isaac's throwing, I think the Explorer is going to be a little bit more of his straighter pushing, maybe even slight flip up for someone at lower altitude with his speed. And then probably more like the Glory, which I'll have in the next review, along with some Eagles and stuff, and the Cookie coming up. But yeah, the Athena kind of surprised me. It's very stable. Kind of has a little bit faster. I always thought it was pretty blunt, but comparatively, it's not quite as blunt and as slow as some of these. So I think you can push the Athena maybe a little bit harder, but it does fly extremely similar. It's just on the touch stabler side. So all in all, these are solid, but hard to beat the OG Teebird. There's been a lot of copies. But if you're looking for even more flip, like I said, check out part 1 of this series, where the iDog review, where we tried the iDog versus the Votum and the Grackle and the Exodus, which all have a little bit more turn. So you get a tiny bit of flip or a tiny bit of left-right movement, but also very similar. So it kind of depends on what flight you want. These ones aren't gonna move a whole lot. Even the straighter ones, when I pushed them on that anti-angle, they don't really move all that much, and they still recovered. So there's part 3 of this, and we got part 2, we got part 3 and 4 coming. We got a lot more discs coming, so we'll see you in the next one. Peace.